Hey guys, latest Sabrina, and this is the one where she gets fish intestines. No, really, she does, believe me. I'll show you a picture in a moment. Can you believe it? This is basically the Go Fish of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and only Buffy fans will get that reference. But this is episode 3 of the 4th part, chapter 31. It's called All Weird. And I'll get to why it's called the weird beyond the scary sight of Sabrina's fish intestines later. But this crazy plot concerns the latest Eldritch terror who comes to town and they infect Sabrina. They have her under their sort of thrall. And there's this whole thing with this new guy, Lucas, who Sabrina seems drawn to, who is on the swimming team, and that leads to this weird sort of dream fantasy with them in a pool, and Sabrina says you've got the gold medal and all that crap. I tell you what, I wasn't quite sure where this plot was going, but I tell you what, I mean, it actually got to a stage where they were getting intimate because Roz talks Sabrina into, just go for it, you're single, that's what single's about, having a bit of fun, and that she sort of moves forward. Lucas seems quite nervy. He references 6 Feet Under at one point, which is like music to Sabrina's ears, and it sort of made me warm to the chap, I have to say. But they get back to her, she goes for it, and she's got a fish ton, because of course she does. That's why they can't go through it with it. That's why they can't kiss, and it freaks the poor lad out. He runs off scared, and that's when Sabrina realised she's going through these changes. She's literally turning into a fish, and she gets the right man on the case, which is of course Ambrose. The X-rays, I tell you what, if I can find a picture, you're gonna see the X-rays. The X-rays will stay with me for infamy, because at one point when Sabrina realises that she's not feeling herself, Ambrose actually gets X-rays of her, and you see the fish intestines on the X-rays, and I have no idea. Just the sight of what was fish intestines, but meant to be inside Sabrina. It's the most chilling thing ever in this series. I mean, it just has to be. I just never expected them to be going there in this episode. And Sabrina, as I said, with the fish ton, she's got the weird sort of underwater dreams. And yeah, she slowly starts losing her mind. And there's this whole procedure that Ambrose does where he gets one of his specialists, like just this random sort of girl, who actually works on Sabrina's mind. At one point, like, because they do this whole thing where it's basically Sabrina's conscious has been infected by the conscious of the Eldritch, but it's in like, I'm struggling to explain this damn plot, but it's taken over by a fish person. That's all I can say. But at one point they have to go into Sabrina's brain, and the whole strategy is, well, you think of a memory from an earlier age, to try and beat out the memory that's possessing you from the fish demon. And you get this sort of like this weird looking witch girl going inside Sabrina's head as Sabrina's trying to think of a thought from when she was much younger, and she starts singing, 16 going on 17, and at one point Nick, who's there, he starts doing the same, so they're obviously trying to form some sort of bond with them again after their sort of kind of bad end to the relationship. But yeah, there's all sorts of crazy body horror monster movie antics in this one with Sabrina and her intestines, and just some of the visuals. I did enjoy some of the gross out effects, I will say that, because finally, well, it's not finally, because they realise there's a hitch, and that's when they have to essentially work on her brain and get her to think of something else. But initially, they do actually, they sort of, I can't remember exactly what they did. This episode goes places, but they do sort of force her and get her to spit it out, and she spits it out, and that's a really cool gross effect and sound effect. And it appears as though at the time they've got yeah, they've got it out and she's saved, but no, she goes to school and it turns out it's still affecting her, and she's in class, and some of this is quite dark shit, quite trippy stuff, but I'm not quite sure. It's super cheesy in a way, but kind of trippy and insane in another way, because she hypnotizes the people in the class, and it's the Aldridge Terror's way of trying to force them to kill themselves. Now it's sort of convenient that Ambrose is near enough to the school, and he just happens to figure out at a time, in enough time, what's going on, and he shows up at the school, and he works a bit of magic to undo everything, um, or at least undo what Sabrina's doing, fish Sabrina, if you will, and then he kind of erases everybody's mind so that they don't all memories of it, so that they don't remember any of this, because boy would they be scarred if they did. Yeah, this episode really goes something, and you've got to give it to the actors. They're real pros. Yeah, the actress who plays Sabrina, Kira Shipka, she really puts in a shift in this one. She's a real trooper. She's just gets every ounce of it, really, every ounce out of it. Just this manic sort of expression that's somewhere between like insane comedy and uh, sort of more deadly serious in a way. I mean, you can't take this stuff seriously. And even Ambrose, who I've kind of crapped on in the past, I think the actor does a pretty good job. He's just like suitably manic. His eyeballs are so sort of expressive. But yeah, it's definitely a love them or hate them type plot this time with Sabrina. Um, and I should talk a bit more about the stuff with Lucas, because, as I said, this new boy comes to school. Lucas, he seems like a perfect sort of guy. And it's a bit weird because he features in her dream and he kind of says, "But I'm not really a boy." And at that point, I'm assuming, come on, Sabrina, this is a red flag. He must have something to do with what's happening to you. But by the end of the episode, he just leaves town. I guess he's just so freaked out at fish Sabrina. But I I could have sworn that little swine has something to do with it. He just seemed too perfect. But no, apparently not. He had a very short stay in Greendale, so I doubt we'll see him again, but maybe. I guess it was just a bit of a love interest for Sabrina for one episode, because she's going through this crisis. Um, and of course, the other thing with her is that she's creating her own perfect guy, because of course she is. The mad scientist Sabrina Spellman, at the end of the last episode, started this. She's basically mixing her two love interests from the show, Nick, the bad boy Nick, and the good, wholesome Harvey, to make the perfect man. And she's growing it in her bath, so that's nice little symmetry there, because she's growing this thing in the bath, so you've almost got it's in water there, so that kind of links up with with the fish stuff. It's a better episode than Go Fish, I'll say that for it. But by the end, she literally pulls the plug on it. No, she really does. She's because there's a line about sorry boys, for now it's just me. I've got to focus on myself. So she literally pulls the plug on her creation. Actually, one little touch I like is Salem at the start of the episode, because of how Salem, good old Salem, disapproves of Sabrina basically creating this mashup of Harvey and Nick. So moving over to the other stuff, one good development in the episode, which I like and it makes sense and it gives her a bit more of a purpose, is that it appears as though Roz has witch origins in her past, because she gets visited by the voodoo character who's sort of hit it off with Zelda and now is living in Greendale, and one of her friends, and they show up and they give Roz a third eye in the forehead. And I'll probably stick a picture of that somewhere. But anyway, yeah, they start talking to her saying, we think you might have witch heritage and we could do with you sort of teaming up with us because we need to help Greendale against the Aldridge terror and the threat coming from that. And by the end of the episode, they've tested what Roz, and it turns out she's a witch, and she helps them out with another plot, which I'll mention in a minute. But as it turns out, she is a witch. That appears to be her destiny, and she becomes the newest member of the Weird Sisters. So that's where the episode title comes from. And I like that. I like that for Roz. I think it gives her more of a purpose now, and it's a good thing moving forward. I think that sets the character up nicely. Obviously, this is the last season, but if it gets picked up somewhere else, I guess you could carry that on. But that's good stuff. I think that's a good move for Roz as a character. And the other big plot in the episode is that Lilith is having Satan's baby, because of course she is, because this is Sabrina. And that sets up a whole shitstorm in hell with Caravan, who's trying to establish his dominance and is obviously worried about his throne because of this hell baby. And again, they really go for it with the special effects and the melodrama, because the Coven, Hilda, Zelda, and the rest of them, they all chip in, they all help out with the birth. Lilith comes to them, and they just like this orgasmic sort of chants, they all come together. It's like share the pain, and you get like lightning effects as she's having the baby. It's insane stuff, but I've gotta love it. It's a good bit of ham, and these actors, they know how to deliver it on a plate. It's beautiful stuff. But there's this whole thing with Caliban. He sends his minions at one point to do his dirty work. He basically wants that baby. Caliban I find a little bit dull, but so this plot maybe isn't the best, but I did enjoy some of the stuff with the Coven, and they end up protecting Lilith and her baby, that they use their powers to send the minions packing, and one of them dies and the other's on the way to die, and sort of there's this hilarious visual of him crawling back to how to tell Caliban what's happened, and whoa, heavy stuff once again. Some sort of hilarious special effects makeup. So there you have it. That's my thoughts on Children's Adventures of Sabrina the Weird. I'll be back in the coming days with episode 4, and man, I'm still recovering from that Ambrose X-ray. Whew, I think I need to lay down. Okay, I'll see you kids later. Goodbye.